Hello fellow YouTubers, Trouble835 here. So today I want to talk about some of my fond Christmas memories. You know, Christmas and gaming has always been the experiences of gaming, and my fondest memories of gaming have always been around the holidays, because Christmas and my birthday are only 3 weeks apart. The first memory I'll share with you today is about my best friend across the street, growing up. He never showed any inkling of wanting to play video games whatsoever up to this point. I had an Atari 2600, and I had gotten an NES before this point, and he never once ever wanted to or cared to come over and ever see or play any of those two systems. And I think sometimes, you know, when you're growing up, whatever the hot item was that everybody wanted, you wanted it also. And so he put an NES on his list, and I believe he put The Legend of Zelda on his list. Anyway, you know how you get up Christmas morning, you know, you finally get your parents out of bed and you open up all your gifts and you play them for a little bit, and then around maybe noon or midday you want to go see what your friends got for Christmas. And this is what happened in this day. And so I went over to his house. I think he just got home from celebrating, because his parents, I believe, were divorced or separated at this point. And I went over there, and he had just hooked up the NES, and he had just started The Legend of Zelda, and the title screen came on. I still remember that music to this day. I had never seen a game like Zelda before at this point. I'd never seen an action RPG at this time. And back at the time of the NES time, the games were linear, right? There was no, you could go where you wanted to kind of thing in a game. And Zelda, that gave you the illusion, at least, that you can move around and do where you wanted to. Little things like having to use bombs to blow up secret holes in walls to go to secret places had never been done in a video game at this point, in my memory. And it made you feel like it was a free, open world, even though it wasn't. I mean, you as you play the game on, you understood, okay, well, see that wall, that's where I blow up the wall with the bomb and stuff. But the game, well, there's nothing like it at the time. And back then in the NES era, any game you got, no matter what was in the game, creature, whatever, you always just went with it because that's all you had to play. And Zelda just had such original creatures and such an original story and world, even though you wouldn't say it was much of a story, but the story that was there, and what you made up the rest of the story in your mind. And with me and my best friend, you know, we played that game 6 hours straight that day until his dad finally kicked us out of the living room. And I remember every waking moment we could find time, we would play that game until we beat it. And then after we beat the game, of course, you could play through it again, and we did. And I have such fond memories of that Zelda game, playing that game and just beating Ganon at the end of the game. It was just such a great game at the time. My second Christmas experience actually has to do with my wife. The first year we started dating, and we met in real life. For those who don't know, me and my wife originally, we met online. Actually, ironically, through an AOL chat room back then. And when the first year we started dating, she got me Beyond the Beyond for the PlayStation 1. Now, Beyond the Beyond was an average RPG. It was like every other RPG, and be honest, at the time. Graphics weren't going to blow you away. The one thing is, to me, the fighting in that game was repetitive and got boring, because if I remember correctly, you don't control everybody in your party when they fight. So the fighting to me got repetitive and old. And every time I ever started playing that game, I only got a couple hours in and I quit. That game never grabbed me. And so, ironically, I get rid of that game, and someday I'd like to have that game back and give it another go. But what's so fond about this Christmas was, that was the Christmas my wife wanted a PlayStation 1. And, you know, she told her parents over and over again, she left everything that she said, the only thing she wanted was that for Christmas, and they did not get her that system for Christmas. And being my wife, she got so mad, she bought herself a PlayStation 1 as a Christmas gift to herself the next day. And I remember she got Treasure of the Deep and Crash Bandicoot for the PlayStation 1, you know, with that system. And she called me up after she got off work that day, and so she got home and we hooked it up. And I remember playing Crash Bandicoot, and how colorful that game was, and how beautiful the graphics looked at the time, and how different that game was at the time. I really liked that game a lot. I played that game over and over again several times. It was just a great game at the time. Treasure of the Deep, I didn't get into it so much. the controls seemed to be frustrating. I think they were almost inverted at the time, and I know you're underwater swimming in that game, and I really never got into that game. She has fond memories of it, and she'd like to have it again. So someday, if I ever come across that, most definitely we'll get it for her. But those are the 2 games she got with that system. And what's ironically about that she got in that system was, for my birthday that year, she had gotten me the original Wild Arms RPG, which was the first 3D RPG at the time. And I remember when I first started playing that game, I went, wow, this is the future gaming. Games are going to go like this. This is the next step in gaming, 3D. Now, if you play the original Wild Arms today, graphically it doesn't hold up at all. And it was ironic. It was about that game was, my wife bought that game for me, and she saw me play, and she asked about it. Asked her about it. And I said, "Well, you want to play? You can sit down and play." And so I restarted the game from the beginning because I didn't want her to not to know what's going on and not to get the whole experience of the game and the story. So we started over again. She started playing, and originally, very early, we were about the same in the game. She'd come over and I'd let her play, and then I'd watch her play, and then I'd play it. Eventually, she just got so into the game, and I just enjoyed watching her play a game, and she was way ahead of me, and so I just kept watching her. And eventually, something happened in the game. I don't remember what it was. We got the strategy guide, and the strategy guide did something about going around this phoenix, and it was wrong. And so she kept trying to do this, and it didn't work. So eventually, she quit playing the game. She didn't understand what she was doing wrong. And every 6 months, she tried to do it and couldn't do it. And then after 3 years, trying it once every 6 months, she said, "I'll go ahead and see what happens." And then she beat the game. The joke between us was that I was joking that was the game she never beat. We'd have it forever. But that game has a very fond memory because of that experience. It was the first game we were together she actually played. So guys, that's all for my Christmas memories. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you guys all shortly. I hope everybody has a happy holiday out there.